All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about something we've all been through and probably hated at some point: group work. We're going to break down why it so often turns into a total disaster, but more importantly, what the research says about how to actually make it work.
So let's just start with this question. Group work without structure. Just let that sink in for a second. We've all been there, right? You get thrown into a group and the only instruction is collaborate. What happens next? Well, it's usually not pretty.
Yeah, exactly. It's just noise with chairs. It's total chaos, isn't it? It looks like teamwork, but there's nothing really happening. This phrase, noise with chairs, is going to be our North Star for this whole explainer.
Okay, picture this. You know the scene, you've lived it. 4 students huddled around a table. But let's be real. Just because they're in the same room, does that actually make them a team?
You know, there's always that one person, right? The one who ends up doing all the work. And it's not because they want to be a hero, it's because they're terrified the whole thing will fall apart if they don't.
And then, of course, there's this person. They're technically there, but their brain is somewhere else entirely, deep in their phone. We've all seen them. And hey, let's be honest, we've probably been them at some point.
And this is really the whole point, isn't it? You can't just toss a few people in a room and expect magic to happen. Real collaboration, the kind that actually works, doesn't happen by accident. It has to be designed.
Okay, so why bother? Why go through all the trouble of designing it? Why does it matter so much to get past that noise with chairs phase? Well, because when collaboration is done right, the payoff is just huge.
And look, this isn't just some fluffy, feel-good idea. We're talking about something called cooperative learning. And this stuff has been researched like crazy for decades by educators and psychologists. And the evidence is really, really strong. For example, a big meta-analysis by a guy named Robert Slavin. And a meta-analysis, just so you know, isn't one little study, it's a study of all the other studies. He found a clear, undeniable link, but only when the group work was, you guessed it, properly structured.
And it gets even better. The benefits go way beyond just better grades. Researchers Johnson & Johnson, who are legends in this field, found that good group work boosts achievement, sure, but also interpersonal skills, motivation, and how well you actually remember stuff later on. It literally makes you a better learner and teammate.
So what's the magic ingredient in all this? It's that phrase we keep coming back to. The one thing that makes all the difference. If you remember nothing else from this, remember these 2 words: well-structured.
Okay, so if this is so great, why is group work usually so awful? Let's get into it. It really boils down to 3 main reasons.
All right, reason number 1, no clear roles.
This is where it all starts to go wrong. When nobody has a specific job, it's basically an invitation for chaos.
And there's a name for this phenomenon, thanks to researcher Bibb Latané. It's called social loafing. You've totally felt this before. It's the idea that the more people there are in a group, the less effort each person puts in. It's like, if everyone's responsible, then nobody feels responsible.
Reason number 2 for failure: no accountability. Think about it. If the only thing that matters is the final project, and everyone gets the same grade, what happens? The person doing all the work gets angry and everyone else just coasts. There's zero incentive to pitch in.
And the third reason, this one is huge, is no interdependence. This means the project isn't even really a group project to begin with. If I can just do my little part on my own and you can do yours, and we just staple it together at the end, that's not collaboration.
This brings us to a really important idea from Johnson & Johnson called positive interdependence. It basically means we sink or swim together. The task has to be set up so that I literally cannot succeed unless you do your part, and you can't succeed unless I do mine. We have to rely on each other. Otherwise, we're not a team, we're just coworkers.
Okay, so we've seen why it all falls apart. So how do we fix it? Well, here's the blueprint. This is how you turn that noise with chairs into an actual effective team.
And it comes down to these 5 essential elements, again from that Johnson & Johnson research. You need positive interdependence, individual accountability, face-to-face interaction, social skills, and group processing. See how these directly fight the problems we just talked about? You're basically designing a system where people have to rely on each other and are held responsible for their part.
And this really shows the difference, right? On one side, you have the vague, hey, just work together on this, that's a recipe for disaster. But on the other side, you see a real structure. You assign roles, facilitator, recorder, whatever. You set checkpoints. You make people reflect on their own contributions. It's not about giving more work, it's about making the work smarter.
So we've got the how, but what about the why? Like, what is actually happening in our brains when we collaborate well that makes it so powerful for learning?
Well, it goes back to a theory from a psychologist named Lev Vygotsky. His big idea was that we don't just learn things on our own. We build real, deep understanding by talking, arguing, and working things out with other people.
I mean, think about it from your own experience. The moment you have to explain something to someone else, you're forced to organize all those jumbled thoughts in your head. It immediately shows you what you don't understand, and it forces you to think about the topic on a much deeper level.
It's really as simple as this. Explaining is thinking, and debating is refining. You know, they say the best way to learn something is to teach it, and the best way to make your ideas stronger is to have someone challenge them. That's what good collaboration does.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. What's the big takeaway here? We're right back where we started. Remember, group work without structure is just noise with chairs. And now we know why. This isn't saying group work is bad, it's saying that lazy, unplanned, unstructured group work is useless.
But when it's done right,
When you actually design it, well, then it's so much more than just getting a project done. It builds thinkers, it builds communicators, it builds people who actually know how to solve problems together.